This is Ember, old name, I'm sure. Her very first whistle recall training video. So, and I'm gonna put this in the bullet points too. So the whistle recall, why I like to use the whistle instead of like the word here or come is because we don't mess around with this. Every time we use it, it's super intentional and we'll always have treats to back it up. So I'll do action first and then explain the end of it. So just like with the clicker, how I loaded the clicker, click, and then deliver a treat. That's how I loaded it, and that's how I taught her what the clicker means, that something good is about to happen, so pay attention. The whistle is the same exact thing. So I'm gonna load the whistle in exactly the same way. So with recall, because it's the most important for their safety and for our sanity that they have a good recall, it is the only time with puppies this young that I use an actual real treat. So instead of using their kibble, this is freeze-dried liver. Freeze-dried beef is great, all of that. Don't use chicken liver, it will give them diarrhea every single time. But find what they really like. Keep this valuable even as she gets older by only using this treat for recall. And if you notice she starts to get bored of it, switch to something else. Cheese chunks, hot dogs work great, that kind of thing. So the other thing with when we give them treats, we are always generous. Like, I'm not gonna give her this whole thing because she's only 9 weeks old, but we don't wanna be skimpy. We want it to be so memorable that she's like, that was awesome when she did that. So she's sitting on my lap right now and I'm gonna leave her there to load the whistle because I don't wanna, loading the whistle requires her to do absolutely nothing. It's a loud noise, so she's a little bit timid of that. So I'm gonna break that size treat into 3 different sizes. Actually 4, I got 4. Good girl. Okay, so now I'm gonna do one more. So this is classical conditioning. We're teaching her that this sound means something good is about to happen. So when I practice at the beginning, for the first, to be generous, even the first year of a dog's life, but to be realistic, the first 6 to 9 months of a dog's life, recall is not practical. It is just teaching them muscle memory. So when they hear that, whatever that is, the whistle, the word, whatever our cue is, that they come running. So what I mean by not practical is we are gonna set them up for success. So we're only gonna call her. So in this demo right now, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna keep it at like 10, 15, maybe 20 feet, but that's gonna be pushing it depending on how interested she is in the activity. It is not for intentional purposes. If she is running after something, I am not gonna use the recall. Instead, I'm going to, woohoo, be interesting, back it up, be exciting, so she wants to follow me just of her own free will, because the muscle memory isn't there yet. And what happens when we say someone's name over and over again and they're not paying attention to us or whatever, it becomes lukewarm. It loses its power, it loses its oomph. So we wanna keep it super saturated with strength. So in the beginning, and then also another great way to use blow the whistle before you feed her. It's another great way to just pair like, yeah, something good is about to happen. Okay, so I've loaded the whistle. I actually do not have her on the leash right now, but that's totally fine. Because I have a feeling. So I have her attention, and then in recall, whenever, when there's in doubt, a lot of people expect recall to be like, I'm very rigid and I'm calling my dog here and they need to come as soon as I say it. Where in actuality, we should be interesting, be exciting, especially when they're little and we're teaching them this game. Be interesting, exciting, back it up, clap your hands, all of those good things. So she's like, what is going on? I want to follow them. Okay, so name, whistle, and then back it up. Ember! So you'll notice she did not come to the whistle, but she did come to the exciting sound. So this is our very first session. Great, that's all I want. So we're gonna do it one more time. Good girl. And of course, puppies this age just want to follow us around like little shadows anyway. Good girl. Ember. Good girl. Okay, one more. Good girl. Ember. Good girl. Good girl. So you'll notice in that as well. So as soon as I squat down, good girl, Ember, Ember, Ember. So this is a perfect example. So I want her literally next to me, but I'm not going to use the whistle she's fine. She can kind of explore a little bit, but I want you guys to see her too. But anyway, that was a perfect example. If I wanted her to come to me that last 6 feet or whatever, I'm not going to use an official recall, like come here, whistle, whatever. Just be interesting and she'll come on over. And how much do we really care if she comes? Like, she's not in any danger. There's no cars. There's nothing that she can eat that's going to make her sick. So even if she didn't come, it's not a big deal. So for the do's and don'ts of recall, so that's the practical ones. So when you're at home practicing 3 minutes a day of recall, even if you do it twice a week, great. You want to not over practice it, ironically, because you want it to be such a fun game that she wants more. Where we go wrong with training in general is we over practice. If it's hard for us, like if we're dreading it, they're probably dreading it too, which means they're not learning. So don't over practice it. 3 minutes at a time is great. Twice a week. If you could practice every day, I'm like, gold star for you. But realistically, if you could do 1 or 2 times a week, awesome. Because then by the time she's 6 months old, she'll have practiced it. I don't know how many times that is. Hundreds. Yeah. She'll have practiced it a lot. That was math on the spot. So the do's and don'ts of recall. So do constantly encourage your puppy to follow you. So when you're in the house, she wants to be next to you anyway. So she's going to follow you around like a little shadow. So encourage her. Yay, Ember, come on, let's go. Don't encourage her to jump on you. So if she's jumping 2 paws up, we're just going to wait a second, show self-control, and pet her when she's on the ground. But yes, absolutely encourage her to follow you wherever you go. So do practice short times, keep it interesting. Do use high value treat that you're not going to use anywhere else. That is a special treat only for recall. That has double power because when she smells it, she'll know she's practicing recall. And then also it's the filet mignon. Like if we had filet mignon every night, we'd be like, whatever, it's not that exciting. Okay, so those are the do's. There's a couple more that I'm not thinking of, but so the don'ts: don't call your dog unnecessarily. If you're walking around the house and you don't really care if she follows you, then don't call her. Be interesting, back it up, grab a squeaky toy, encourage her to come to you, all of that good stuff. Don't expect to use it for practical purposes until she is much, much older. Ember. Come here. Good girl. Ember. Bop, 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 bop. Come here. Good girl. So don't expect to use it for practical purposes for a while. So I'm just pulling out a piece of kibble that I have in my pocket. That's from her dinner. Good girl. Don't expect practical purposes for over 9 months, keeping in mind that between 6 months and a year is when they hit adolescence. Their energy is through the roof, their hormones are through the roof. What wasn't a challenge yesterday, all of a sudden seems like you'll never be successful at again, and just know that's normal. Recall is so difficult from 6 to 12 months. So if you put in the work now, once she kind of gets over that adolescent hump and her energy comes down and you're consistent and persistent with the rules and all of those things, she will come back around to be a great recall dog. Oh, the last one for the don't. So don't expect too much too fast. So we are practicing here at my house where this is her comfortable territory. There's not really any new smells. There's not new dogs or new people and things like that. So it's really easy to captivate her attention. Once she's fully vaccinated, if I were to go practice in, like, sometimes I'll take my older dogs to a store parking lot, like a Walmart parking lot or something where there's a lot of action, I'm going to put them on the long lead so I can control them coming back. But 2, I'm not going to expect as long of a recall as I would at home, because at home it's much easier. The distractions are lower, all of that good stuff. So whistle recall, day 1, done.